It's Saturday morning at 10 a.m., so you know what that means. It's time for What's Up, Ocala? With tens of thousands of viewers every month on our YouTube channel and millions so far on TikTok, we are joined by our host, local owner, and broker of Great Expectations Realty, Andrea Praber.
Good morning and welcome to What's Up, Ocala. I'm your host, Andrea Praber. All right, so today's subject we're going to be talking about is Brightline. Yeah, Brightline's all-electric, zero-emission, high-speed trains offer state-of-the-art amenities and top speeds of 130 miles per hour. My husband and I recently took a trip on the Brightline, which I've been honestly wanting to do for years. I've been looking for an excuse to ride since the grand opening of the Orlando station, and I just had to find something we were doing, so we were taking a cruise, and we just decided to go ahead and give it a go. So we got a ride from a friend over to the Orlando airport, and because we got dropped off instead of parking, it was incredibly easy access. 10 out of 10, I would highly recommend that. If you're driving yourself and parking, you're going to want to allow about 30 extra minutes because the shuttles going from the parking garage over to the terminal is sporadic. So definitely not something that's immediate. You're going to need some options. Speaking of options, there's actually a few different ones for catching a ride to the Orlando Airport and Brightline Terminal from Ocala. There's Groom Transportation, which is spelled Groome. You can look them up at groomtransportation.com. There's also shuttlelinerofocala.com. Each of these run about $70 per person each way. And truthfully, you can normally just take turns with friends transporting each other to the airport. We find that a lot of times people are either going, coming, or family or friends are coming or going. So just taking turns, pretty fair. Another option is out of the villages. If you drive down to the villages, there's actually much less expensive shuttles that leave from the villages over to Orlando Airport. So even though it seems kind of odd to go to the villages in order to fly out of Orlando, it might be in your best interest. Look into some of those shuttles that go out of there. All right, so the first tip that I can give you is sign up at the Brightline website for discounts via email. Just go online to gobrightline.com, and when it asks you if you want updates sent to you, say yes. Definitely say yes. They have some fantastic coupon codes that you can use, some great deals. In fact, they do a lot of the discounts by date. So I've found, by watching it for over a year now, the best deals are just a few weeks before the planned trip. And I love the group discounts they have for 4 or more. So if you're going for 4 people, or maybe you're just planning on going on a trip soon, might be a good time to take advantage of that. There are 2 different kinds of fares. David and I discussed it, and we decided since we're going round trip, we would love to get an impression of both different fares so we can have an honest opinion of what we thought of both. So we decided we would do one of each and give you the details on it. Okay, so the next tip, and this one is probably the most important one before we get into the fares and all of that. Our next tip is to be there 60 minutes early, at least. I'm definitely one of those that likes to be at the airport when I'm flying out somewhere 3 hours early. My husband would arrive 5 minutes before. It's normally the 2 people like that end up getting married, opposites attract and all of that. So we do have, we have a rocky start when we start our vacations and stuff because I always like to be there hours ahead of time. He would prefer going at the last minute and keeping busy with other things at home before we head out. It's just a different life opinion and we travel together, so it does make life interesting. But what happened at the Brightline train station, I'm going to say it was kind of not our fault and kind of was. So we got that, about 30 minutes ahead of time, I thought was plenty. It was not. It was definitely not. See, the friend that drove us didn't realize that there are multiple airports in Orlando because she's really new here. And we didn't think to put in Brightline train station, Orlando. We said Orlando Airport because, of course, it's part of Orlando Airport. Well, then we all got talking and such, and we didn't realize we were in trouble until we were off the highway and in somebody's neighborhood looking at houses. Yeah, that wasn't such a great thing. So we put in the train station into GPS, and we're pulling up to the train station just in time to see the train pull away. Yeah, it was embarrassing. Well, thanks to Christina at the front desk and a bit of polite begging by yours truly, we were put on the next train and she didn't even charge us for it. So huge thanks to Christina. She was absolutely the sweetest. Normally there is a fee though, and sometimes the second train is full. So I would just say be at the station at least 60 minutes early, okay? Just go ahead and hang out. The lounge is a fantastic place to hang out. The station is absolutely pristine. It's so beautiful. And if you're on the premium fare, you have access to the executive lounge or premium lounge. It's up to 2 hours before your train. So there's really no reason not to get there early. In fact, there's a lot of reasons to get there early because there's some lovely food and drinks that you can enjoy while you're there. Now, we took the smart fare, which is more of a budget kind of thing, out of Orlando because we figured, after the cruise, we would want to, relax and do the premium service on our way home. I don't know if that was the right choice or not because the Orlando lounge looked pretty spectacular, whereas the Fort Lauderdale lounge may have left a little bit to be desired. It was just a lot smaller, and there really wasn't a huge difference between the regular seating and the premium lounge. But that's Fort Lauderdale, not Orlando. I did take a look at Orlando's, just a peek, and yeah, I think we definitely missed out on that one. So if you are going to try the premium fare, make sure that you do it out of Orlando. Let me know what I missed out on, okay? Just send me a picture. It'll be fine. All right, the station, like I said, absolutely beautiful, very, very, very nice, all just comfortable, very great to relax in. It's actually one of their largest stations is the Orlando one. It has a lot of seating areas, it has a nice bar there, and it has a really cool kids area. And I don't know why every airport doesn't have this already. It is great. I've traveled with kids before, and it's a good idea to get them good and worn out with exercise before trying to get them to settle down for a few hours on a train or a plane or pretty much any kind of conveyance. Getting through the security gate, I have to tell you, by the way, it was so much faster than an airport. It was completely easy. It was efficient. I didn't have to take off my shoes. It was great. All right, let's go ahead and get into those smart fares, why don't we? It's actually really inexpensive. I mean, $39 is a special that runs fairly often, so you can definitely snag that. But it also depends on what time of day. So if you're able to travel at a less busy time of day, you're going to save quite a lot of money. But $39 to travel for hours anywhere is almost impossible. So definitely far exceeds that. But normally you'll see $59 or $79 or up, even for the smart fares. So just keep an eye out on those promo codes. They are fantastic. When you book your ticket and you're going on their website, which is pretty easy to use, it does get a little confusing as to how much it costs for your luggage. We took one crazy large suitcase and we had 2 carry-ons and there were no charges. All of it went with us on the train, no questions asked. There's no cost for carry-on bags, but there is a 2-bag carry-on limit per person, and they cannot weigh more than 50 pounds. Nobody weighed our suitcase, and I honestly don't know if it hit the 50-pound limit. I'm going to guess and say no, but I honestly really don't know. Cost for check bags is $10 each, and with a 2-bag limit on that too. Brightline warned that there's a lot of reservations that you're really gonna want to use because multiple bags need to have the reservations in advance because of capacity. And it's not weight like you would think on a train. It's just that there's a lot of people using these trains lately. And if everybody's bringing a lot of luggage and it's getting checked and all of that, it can get a little cramped. So just a heads up, you might not be able to take your luggage, or it might become an issue if you have not reserved it ahead of time and you show up with a lot of luggage. Cost for checked bags is only $10. So if you're at all worried about it, just go ahead and put that $10 each bag right there when you get your tickets. If you're not really that concerned about it, don't worry about it. I found there to be plenty of room for my luggage, especially on the weekend train. There was just ridiculous amounts of area and space on the weekend train. Not as much during the week though, so keep that in mind. Another thing that wasn't mentioned is that you can bring your own food and drinks on the train. Apparently, the most frequently brought item on the train, according to our attendant, are pub subs. They are very popular on the train, but for their benefit, please watch for that lettuce. That lettuce just kind of goes everywhere, doesn't it? There is a food and beverage service, but for the smart fare, everything is at a price, and it's expensive. There's menus available. They're in the seat back in front of you. Heads up, bottled water is $3. I'm just saying, bring your own, okay? They do accept credit cards, so it is convenient. If you like, you can buy the sandwiches and the chips. And that's the stuff that they actually serve in the premium section, but you can purchase it even though you're in the smart fare section. A way better idea, though, is that you can bring your own food and drinks on the train and just get your pub sub and call it good. I don't really like to pay $18 for a cold sandwich, a bag of chips, and a drink. That seems like a lot to me. There are tray tables, but the cup holders left a little bit to be desired. Just a heads up on that. So just get something disposable because it's a lot easier to do it that way. I took my Stanley cup because I'm quite frankly addicted to it, and I always have my water with me that way. So I took that, and it really wasn't very easy to manage there. I really wish I actually hadn't had it on the train, and I wish I had just, sprung for a bottled water or something or brought one with me. I have to say there are a lot of plugs for your electronics, but they are not USB. So be sure to bring a block, like the wall block. They do have the C plug for the iPhones though. So, the whole thing, even though you're going super, super fast, it was very, very comfortable. If you want to check how fast you're going at any point on the train, you can actually use a free app called Waze, W-A-Z-E. And it has a speedometer based on GPS, which was kind of fun. My husband and I were checking out a few different apps to see which one would actually tell us how fast we were going at different times. And that one was the best one, so we wanted to share that with you. Quite often, we were going about 120 miles per hour, which was really, really cool. One thing I will warn you about is that the train can have issues since it's a high-speed train. It really is. It's definitely going pretty fast. People aren't quite used to that yet, apparently. So if there's an issue on the tracks, like, a car trying to cross in front of the train, not realizing that it's coming at them at over 100 miles per hour, the train could be stuck for 3 to 4 hours, as it's not allowed to leave until a full investigation is launched with all of the authorities involved. So for this reason, you're going to, especially if you're going to something like a cruise ship, because they will leave your butt behind. I'm not even joking. They will definitely leave you. So if you're doing something like that as a timed thing, I highly recommend you go down there the day before. Just relax, chill out, enjoy a fun day at the hotel pool prior to leisurely taking an Uber over to your cruise ship. Always recommended. So even if you're getting there maybe 8 hours early or something like that, why stress? Why do that to yourself? Just go ahead and go down the day before, and then you're going to not have that stress. Even if something comes up, a little bit of a late train, something like that, not a problem. You got this handled. All right. One thing I will warn you about is that the train, it's very interesting going to the restroom while on the train. I had to just go, not necessarily for, necessity of it, more so for, more curiosity more than anything. So it was really, really interesting. It was kind of like surfing. It felt a little bit like surfing. Very, very similar to actually flying in a plane. But it was definitely something that I thought was pretty cool. My husband was the one that talked me into, he's like, you know, even if you don't have to go, you got to go because this is really cool. The door, it's all of it is kind of this, you know, no touching, contactless kind of stuff. But there was a lot of tech in such a small bathroom. And it's actually a pretty good sized bathroom, but it's still a bathroom. So it was kind of cool the way the doors shut with these really cool buttons and the sink and the faucet. My husband is still talking about it. I think he would probably install it at home if he could. It was just really, really cool. Definitely something that you'll want to take a look at. So, even if you don't have to go, just go, just check it out. It was pretty cool. I did notice that a lot of people were acting almost as if it was a plane. They weren't really getting up and walking around at all. But it's something you probably want to do, especially when you come into a station. I will also want to tell you, our attendant's name was Kendall, and he, like everyone else that we came across, was super, super nice, very friendly. I did notice that the weekday employees were a little bit higher caliber, I would say, than the weekend ones. So I highly recommend a weekday visit, if at all possible. I overheard 2 employees at Fort Lauderdale talking about how it's a good thing the supervisors weren't around on the weekends because whatever they were up to at the buffet was apparently not up to par. I personally didn't see anything wrong with anything up there, but I wasn't in the premium lounge like during the week, so maybe I just don't know what I missed out on. So again, feel free to send me pictures of what I missed out on if you see something really amazing at the premium lounge during the week. It was pretty cool. That was, again, on the way home though. So did want to give you fair warning. Do not look at the marquee inside the train. The marquee kept saying the opposite direction to where we were actually going, which led some of the people that were getting on the train to look up, see the marquee, and then kind of panic as they got on the train in like West Palm heading south to Boca, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, since the marquee was saying that it was heading towards Orlando. They almost got off the train thinking they were on the wrong train, which would have made them miss their train for sure. The train stops at the station are incredibly short. This is a high-speed train, so use speed when exiting or you're going to get a bonus ride you didn't want. One older lady seemed to think that there was a concierge service coming to help her with her luggage. So she kind of like stood there on the train staring at her stuff and kind of tapping her foot. I jumped up because I'd already seen how fast it goes. I jumped up and tried to help her along without being forceful at all, which she didn't really seem to appreciate anyway. But at least she got off the train where she was supposed to. But Boca, for example, I timed it because I noticed all the stops were super, super fast. So I timed it from the moment the train comes to a full and complete stop to when the doors shut and the train takes off. It was 2 minutes, 8 seconds. 2 minutes and 8 seconds. That's crazy. So my advice would be to get prepared in order to get off and be sure to pay attention to your stop that's coming up because the Orlando leg especially is like quite lengthy. But the rest of them, they kind of sneak up on you. They're like every few minutes, it feels like. It was just really, really quick to get to those other stations. So if you're going from Orlando down to, let's say Boca or something like that, just be aware. Those stations, they come up really, really quick, and just go ahead and get up, have your bags in hand prior to the train coming into the station, because that 2 minutes and 8 seconds, that included everyone getting off with all their luggage and a whole slew of people getting on with all of theirs. 2 minutes, 8 seconds. It's just not a lot of time to do all of that. Now, we talked about smart fare quite a bit and the train as a whole. What about premium? Well, we got the premium treatment beginning in Fort Lauderdale, coming back to Orlando. The premium lounge was way smaller than Orlando, but it was still very comfortable. It was very nice. They had like this small hors d'oeuvre buffet set up along with a machine that had cappuccinos, espressos. It was very nice. And there was endless sodas and a little beverage fridge, and there's beer and wine and all sorts of goodies out. I personally really appreciated the fresh flowers that were in the lounge. They were all over the place. It was so pretty, and it was a great way to end our vacation. I know it's just a small touch, but it was just really, really nice. I have to admit, though, that I was a little disappointed that the premium seats just meant that you sit at little tables on the train. I don't know why, but I mean, they're not like separate in fancy cars or something. I think I watched too much television or something. Out of all the seating, I honestly enjoyed the seating that was in the middle of the train in the smart fare sections. That was my favorite because it was just my husband and I going. I think that would have been the best for us. But if you had a group of like 4, the premium seats at a table would be awesome because you could sit there and socialize and you could play cards or something. It would be great for that. The food was okay in the premium section seats. It came with the ticket. There were sandwiches, but there was a common theme of pesto. And since I'm allergic to basil, I would have definitely loved a pub sub. I've heard from the attendant they're planning to do a more enhanced, like heated food service soon. I'm not sure where on the train they're going to put that because there wasn't a whole lot of room, especially for like a kitchen or a kitchenette, but I'm sure they'll work it out. Premium service used to include a round trip Uber ride. Yep, both ways to your destination within a 5-mile radius of the station, but they're not doing that anymore. Now you receive a $10 off coupon via text message prior to your trip for, Uber, and it's to be used at your discretion. It was so incredibly easy for us to catch an Uber outside of the terminal, which is what David and I did when we got to Fort Lauderdale, and then getting back from the cruise ship as well. Super easy. They actually have like a little area for it. According to a recent study, 80% of South and Central Florida parents are planning a family staycation, nearcation, or day trip this summer. And while 64% of parents say they'll take a family road trip of at least 5 hours in length this summer, they do have a lot of concerns. The majority of the parents are saying that gas prices are insanity. It's annoying, destructive, and 68% of parents agree that traffic in Florida is such a nightmare, it makes them less likely to want to travel at all in the summer. In fact, a majority of the parents, 59%, would rather find an alligator in their pool than get stuck in traffic during a family road trip. Honestly, I'm going to have to agree with that. I really am. I can handle an alligator, but bumper to bumper, no. I think I'd rather have a tooth pulled. Florida summer traffic jams are just so painful. Most parents would actually rather pay $500 or $600 just to make the cars in front of them disappear when you're stuck on a road like that. Honestly, they will literally pay anything to get out of that. It is just awful. I know we just don't handle traffic as well as other places, I think. I'm not sure, but we hate it. We loathe it, actually. The survey also revealed a consensus among Floridians that traveling by train could avoid some of the top obstacles parents face when on family road trips, including the kids arguing in the car, needing to stop for bathroom breaks, getting lost, and of course, getting stuck in that traffic. 71% agree that holiday weekend traffic jams could be avoided by simply taking the train. This was actually a survey done by AAA, if I remember right. You may wonder why I get so excited about the Brightline train. I'm not some big train enthusiast. I am not a train nerd. I'm not. More power to you if you are. But I can definitely see the appeal. That's basically, it's a great thing. It's wonderful. That's not why I'm into it. What I see is what may happen next. How life in Florida could and probably will change. And it just kind of expands the possibilities of the train. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the history real quick, if you'll indulge me. When I first moved to Florida, it wasn't just the plan to have a high-speed train that was, the whole system functioning all throughout the state of Florida. It was actually a law. Yep, that's right. When I moved to Florida, it was not only the plan to have a high-speed train system functioning all throughout Florida, it was actually a law. In the state of Florida in 2000, it was looking to the near future and seeing transportation issues that we're currently facing. Yep, it's now almost 25 years later. We're just now seeing that high-speed train possibility on the horizon. But it was actually a mandate that got hobbled in 2004. So yeah, it was there. It was ripe for the picking, and Brightline picked up the flag. They're going to do it. They're doing it. So am I really excited about trains, or am I just excited about Brightline following the plans of the state of Florida decades ago? Because if that's the case, I'm curious to see what happens next. So let's talk about what's happening next. The next location they're building rails for is Tampa, but no one's mentioned where it's actually going to be yet. Speculation is that a building owned by Hillsborough Community College in Ybor City is the front runner for the Tampa station, but it's not been confirmed, and I can imagine there's actually several locations under consideration. If it's not too much to ask, though, continuing over to the airport and maybe St. Pete Beach might be a good idea, too. Just an idea. The planned Tampa expansion is expected to include stops at the Orange County Convention Center and South International Drive, and that's according to Brightline. They have these reports that they put out, so it's really great information for the rest of us. Tampa was awarded a federal grant to launch an office dedicated to accelerating big transit projects. I wonder what those could be. Among the priorities is transforming the area around what would be Brightline's Tampa station into an urban, walkable neighborhood. The $25 million project is expected to take about 3 years. So everyone's also been talking about that new station that's set up to open in Stuart. So that's going to be great for that entire city. The location was chosen after a review of 5 proposals from private and public landowners along the Brightline, Florida East Coast Railway corridor over in Martin and St. Lucie counties. And they decided on Stuart based on a whole bunch of different things like location, physical characteristics of the site, the ease with which the site would integrate into Brightline's existing infrastructure, all sorts of stuff. I have to say it, but the entire state needs to kind of look at what Miami is doing. They have totally embraced rail travel. Brightline even has a little competition down there. South Florida's publicly run passenger train Tri-Rail. It's going to start a rush hour express service between downtown West Palm Beach and downtown Miami, and that starts on Monday. So that's kind of interesting. For $17.50, passengers can travel about 90 minutes, and they can actually do this non-express route. It's actually going to compete with Brightline. Brightline is about 10 minutes faster, but Brightline one-way ticket is nearly 65% cheaper. So yeah, gonna have to say that's a pretty good idea. Now, what about Orlando? The Sun Rail track is currently being worked on to join up the Sun Rail to the Orlando airport and, of course, the Brightline station. So that's definitely cool. But what happens next? Well, I will tell you, we're moving north, people. And sadly not to Ocala. It's actually going up to Jacksonville. Yep, Brightline has purchased some property up in Jacksonville. They've also got property over in Cocoa that they are going to. There's 33 acres of land in Cocoa, known as the Cocoa Curve. And they bought that for $12.5 million in April 2021. The project is actually going to receive $15.5 million in federal grants, and it's also eligible for up to $40 million more. And what it's trying to do is just provide some transit options for the Space Coast region. The main station will be Cocoa with 2 platforms on the Orlando line, and then the Jacksonville platforms will be done after that. So after all of this stuff is done and they got Central Florida really figured out, that's when they're going to be kind of going up towards the Jacksonville area. So it is coming. They're moving on this. It is definitely building, and not just the tracks. They're also saying that they need more trains. Currently, the Brightline trains are looking a little different. They're waiting for the delivery of additional cars. Brightline isn't the only one that's actually looking for additional cars. The Siemens Charger locomotives and Venture passenger cars, yeah, they're at capacity. It's crazy. Brightline in May alone served 231,883 passengers. That is crazy. That is 38% increase from the previous year. More than half of Brightline's May passengers, 135,918 to be exact, were long-haul riders who traveled to Orlando. My husband and I were one of those. The company made $15.4 million in total revenue in May, which is a 200% increase compared to the $5.2 million the train service earned in May 2023. Wow. So yeah, this is happening. There's money to be made. This is happening. So all in all, Florida has finally figured out what David and I decided as well. Brightline is a fantastic addition to mass transit here. But in our humble opinion, smart fare is the way to go, and take a pub sub and a Coca-Cola with you and just enjoy the ride. My final tip for today was when I saw the Facebook Brightline fan group, which I joined, of course, immediately. They actually had a tip on there that I'm going to share with you. Yes, there are phone charging plugs and amazing high-speed Wi-Fi, but it's a really good idea to put your tech down, sit back, relax, and enjoy the views out the window as you go very quickly past. And would I do it again? Actually, I'm already looking for another excuse to ride the Brightline, so it'll definitely be happening again, and not in the too distant future. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to What's Up, Ocala? Follow us all week on Andrea Praber's YouTube channel and TikTok. We'll see you next week at 10 a.m. on What's Up, Ocala.